From the depths of the super independent horror film category, we have FrankenThug. Yes, FrankenThug. So this one is it's I'll just go ahead and say it's pretty hilarious, but it's also really really cheaply made. So if you like lower budget films, if you like anything I made, you'll probably like this because it's kind of in that same ballpark. Um, this one guy is killed right at the start of the movie by this gang that's moving into town, and his brothers take him, use some kind of weed, and bring him back, and he becomes FrankenThug. So, as this is going on, one of his brothers has kind of made friends with a girl that's friends with the gang, so you got that dynamic, and it's just over the top. I mean, you have like the son of Celluloid. He's playing like the leader of the other gang in here. I believe his name is Nathan Hamilton, which I feel bad not knowing his name right off the bat because he's on my friends list on Facebook. But nonetheless, he's the leader of the gang that rose into town. And they're actually playing the same gang that the Impalers are beating up in Frankenstein Created Bikers, like the Devil's Own, Satan's Own, something like that. They're actually playing that very same gang. So in a way, even though, and they do mention the Impaler, so it's kind of like it's in the same world as Dear God No and Frankenstein Created Bikers, although it's probably not officially in that world. It still took that liberty as well to use that gang. And let me tell you, it is very cheap. Let me tell you how cheap it is. During one scene near the end, while people are doing what they're doing, you can actually see the pint of fake blood on the ground behind them. Those things happen all the time in indie films, but you know it's kind of got a charm to it, and I still kind of liked it because it kind of reminded me a lot of stuff that I do. There's obvious points in the film where they're trying to pad stuff out, like the Son of Celluloid that I mentioned before has a little speech during the intermission in the movie, and I think even with that, it's still like probably 70 minutes at the most long. And that's okay with me because I don't feel like independent films like this have to be 90 minutes or 80 minutes. They're probably better off if they're not, because that way you're not over reaching for that time, even though they still had to kind of reach to get the time they got, which is kind of a negative. But no, it's still funny, and I think that's the best thing it's got going for it. I mean, it's called FrankenThug, so obviously it's over the top, and it does have, like I said, a lot of funny moments, and that's probably what's going to make you like it or not like it if you find it funny, which I did. This is distributed through MVD. It's SMG. What's that? The Sham Media Group, I believe. I don't have good light in here, and it's really really tiny, so I can't really make that out. But it's Buckshot production or Buckshort Productions. I'll get it right eventually. There's the DVD, and I do want to point out, if you get this, it is a DVD-R, but it's a really really good DVD-R, if that makes sense, because it feels just like a real one, but it's, you know, DVD-R. So if that bothers you, you might want to stay away from it, but me personally, I ain't going to let something like that get in the way of a good time, and this is a good time if nothing else. So if you like super indie stuff with over-the-top titles, and being called FrankenThug leaves the door open for plenty of urban humor and horror. So I give it, I think, a 3 out of 5, which for me it's like it's an indie 3 out of 5. It's not like something you're probably going to want to put over most stuff, but if you're just listing all the indie films that are super cheap with super low budget, this one makes a lot out of what it had, which probably wasn't much, but it still manages to be an entertaining movie that you can watch from start to finish without feeling like you're wasting your time. So if you get the chance to watch this one and you like indie films, I would give it a chance, even if it isn't necessarily your cup of tea, because it still has a lot of heart, and I think that goes a long way.